I was one of five. I had a brother and three sisters. And we were we weren't what you call rich, but we weren't poor. My daddy had a lot of land around here that he worked for his uncle, and he was. My uncle took him in and kind of a adoption like, but never changed his name. And and when my uncle died, he had no one to leave his property to, but to daddy he left it with my daddy. He had a lot of land around here, and he died in out of the sixth grade, 1935. He had scratched his elbow, and he didn't pay any attention to it. And you have to have penicillin, and they didn't have penicillin then. So once that streak started, they couldn't stop it. So he died, and then Mama took over. She had about eight or nine tenants, and Daddy had a store, and when the tenants wanted something, he had shoes in there, meat and stuff. They would come in and get it, and then sign for it. And then excuse me, I got a bite.
That's okay. No problem.
And when they sold the tobacco and cotton and stuff, they would settle up with him first. He would get the checks and take out what they owed him. And they did right well on it. The farmers, they didn't live a bad life. And they had chickens, cows, horses, and plows. But and if he wanted to get rid of one, or if one of them wanted to quit, they would just go to another place, and they would get somebody else.
So it seems that it was maybe a little...
Well, one other thing, he liked oysters.
Really?
Raw oysters.
Okay.
And he always carried me down with him. And most of the time, it was when I was already been put into bed, and he would get me out of bed and had a 1925 Chevrolet Coupe. It had no, it just had one seating in this thing up behind this. And I'd wake up at night and I'd be riding. After I go to bed, he'd pick me up and put me in the place back there, and I'd wake up and I'd be riding. I'd go down with him to get oysters, and he had an oyster bed down in one of the places, and he came. He come back home, and he had a lot of oyster knives, and he always had that around the house. And he even taught me how to eat raw eggs. Cracker, put them in a glass, just they slide right down, And he always wanted my brother and I to be ball players, and he didn't have to want much because we always played with. There was he raised a black fella that kind of came around the house, and he would come out there every day, and he would do little things, and then Mama would feed him, and his name was Joe, and Mama always said Joe was the smartest boy she had. He was really smart, and he always had 2 or 3 jobs, and the people around here really respected him. He had, when he graduated from high school, he went to A&T in Greensboro College, and he made a real good grade, and Mom would get his report card, and he'd get a report card that says, your son is doing fine in school. And he grew to be a big boy. He was about 6'3" and muscular, and just as polite. And later on, when I was playing professional baseball up in around Charlotte, and we'd play down around at High Point, and he was a policeman, a night policeman in Greensboro, and he would come over, and he looked at me, he says, Raymond, said, you ought to be a crackerjack ball player. I said, why, Joe? He says, when you were little, your dad would make me get out there and throw you balls. And he says, if I try to quit, you start hollering. And he said, Joe, you get back out there and pitch ball to those boys, to that Raymond. So he said, you ought to be a good ball player. You had a lot of practice, and I did.
So
got carried away, didn't I?
no, that's perfect. I'm learning a little bit more about you, about before you went into the service, which is quite interesting. So did you go to school as well after? Because you were talking about the fact that you were working as well, sport. Did you go to like high school or college degree?
Yeah. Yeah, I graduated from high school in 1940, right up here at Princeton. And I went to a military school. The coach, the guy that owned the school, he was a Cleveland Indian scout, and I wanted to be a ball player. So I went up there, and there was 3 more boys from here. We went out there to play baseball, and it was a junior college. You go there for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Well, during the second year is when the war started, and so me and this other boy decided, well, if we could come here 1 more year and then go to officer school and go in as an officer, but it'd be in the infantry. So we decided on that, but after that 3rd year, I was drafted, and when you go to be drafted, they examine you and trying to find out what you're best suited for, and so they give you all these aptitude tests, typing, and then with the typing and some other tests. He says, I could type. I had 4 years of typing. I could type pretty good. He said, you do 6 or 7 words a minute. I said, yeah. He said, you'd make a good company clerk. I said, yeah, that's exactly what I'd like to be, because the 3 years I had was infantry training, and I didn't want to be in infantry.
Why?
Huh?
Why you didn't want
You get killed quicker. That's where I wound up anyway. But I went to. Yeah, I was drafted after my 3rd year in the summer, 1943. I was drafted in June. They sent me down to Camp Wheeler, Georgia, which was an infantry center down at Macon, Georgia. And you got down there, and the way they shifted you around, put you on troop trains in. All the GIs travel by train. When we went down to Georgia on the troop train, we had some boys from Georgia, and then had some from Pennsylvania, mostly Polacks. You know what Polacks are, don't you?
That's something. Why?
They're Polish.
Yeah, but.
Anyway, we went down to Macon, Georgia. That's where Camp Wheeler was, and we took training for. Let's see, it was 17 weeks, I believe it was. And when you finish your training, I remember one other thing. When we first got down there, got off the train, had these big duffel bags we had to lug, and we got up to what they called the quad for the where it brought all the soldiers, and the captain is a regimental thing. And the captain came out, looked around, and said, "Well, boy," well, it didn't say boys, he said, "Soldiers, you are now in the infantry. And those boys over there in Europe that are getting killed, you're going over there and take their place." So he just gives us warning. So it was tough. It was tough training. Every minute was regimented. Every minute was called for.
So you've been trained to be a replacement center. You were not in the outfit yet. You were just like, as you said, you would be someone you would replace someone who had been killed, wounded.
Yeah. He told us that those boys over there right now on the front line getting killed, you're going over and take their place, replace them. And right after we finished, they sent us to Camp Patrick Henry, where's a POE, Port of Embarkation, and they put us on a boat, USS General Anderson, I believe it was. And on then when the traffic on the ocean, a lot of them, especially if you had anything imported, was a lot of U-boats out there, and we didn't go over. We went over unescorted because the U-boats were slow, and they couldn't keep up with the ships would be on. So we went to North Africa, landed in North Africa, Casablanca.
So could you tell me more about the crossing? Because
You
would you like a glass of water?
no.
Would you? So that's the first time you're gonna go overseas.
Mm.
You're still a young man.
Landing in Casper. They put us on a boat and we just sailed for 7 days. Nobody knew where we were going, and none did replacement anyway. And we landed in Casablanca. It's just just before we landed, so we're going to Africa. Well, I said, "Hello, Peter. I'll be in the jungles." Because, the desert. We stayed in Casablanca. It was a replacement center. And we stayed in Casablanca, a week or so, with all and we had parental tents, and we had to stand guard because the Arabs would steal everything we had, and we'd have to guard them with a rifle. They found out they had a rifle, and they didn't bother us too much. But then, anyway, Casablanca up here, kind of North Africa, and then they put us on 40 and 8s. You know what a 40 and 8 is?
The train.
Yeah, a box car. Yeah.
Kind of a train.
Okay. So we started out for Iran. Iran, way up on the north coast. Iran.
Yeah. Algeria.
And well, seemed like it took a week or so to get up there on the train. And every time the train stopped, here came the Arabs out of the ground, out of the rocks, wanting cigarettes or anything they wanted to give you. And we, while we was at Iran, I remember there was a big mountain right there where we were, and a plane crashed in there while we were there. But then they put us on a British ship, and we had to learn to eat oatmeal. Eat oatmeal and tea. So they shipped us over to Italy. Italy. Oh, what's the name of that place?
Naples?
Naples, Italy. That's why I say names kind of fly.
It's been a long time. I don't remember what I did last week, so that was 70 years ago.
And when we got to Naples, it had what they call I'm trying to get these racetrack. They call it as a racetrack. That's what he brought the replacements. This racetrack. And let's see. I'm trying to think how I got it. I remember the guy that came for us. He was in 3rd Division. He got I believe 5 replacements, and he carried us back up. We weren't too far behind the front lines then, but they carried us back out to close to the front, where the captain was that had sent the guy to pick up replacement. There were 5 of us, and and they always give the BAR, the Brown Automatic Rifle, to the biggest guy that told us. So that's how I got the BAR. I said, sorry, I don't know how to use that thing. And of course, I did, because in military school I learned to take it apart and put it back together blindfolded. He said, well, you're going to learn how tonight. So we went on combat patrol to start right off with. Went on to, said, take a bridge. There wasn't a whole lot of fighting there, but there was some.
How did you feel at that time? You were a young boy. You were in a new country. You were with people you don't know, and now you're assigned to a brand new outfit. They give you a BAR. Were you scared, or were you like?
No, I was apprehensive. I was lucky that I found out I was getting in the 3rd Division, because they fought in Africa, and they knew what it was all about. So I just made up my mind I was going to do exactly what they told me to do. I was going to do what they did. So I knew they knew the ropes, because they had been in combat in Africa.
So you were like apprehensive, but kind of confident to be a part of the.
Yeah, I felt like I had more confidence. One of them did tell me, says, the only thing about the infantry, he says, you're lucky if you don't get killed or wounded in the first 2 weeks you're here. So I tried to survive the first 2 weeks. And then I saw that boy later. He said, well, I survived. The front lines everywhere, behind you and everywhere. You just don't know where to go till you get acclimated, or you get somewhere where you know where the rest of the boys were at. And you ask them questions, and you get used to hear the bullets flying around, and they don't whistle, they pop. Did you know that? Bullets, when you hear them popping, you know they're close to you. And my first impression was, I said, my gosh, if I wanted to get out of here, I wouldn't know which way to turn, because they were firing all around me. So I just better stay still. I had a little cover. I don't know. It got really tough later on.
Because do you remember approximately when you've been assigned to the 3rd Infantry Division? To give me an idea when and what happened next.
After I was assigned to the.
When exactly have you been assigned to the 3rd Division? Are we in early 44, late 43?
Oh, you mean what year?
Yeah, when have you been assigned to?
My first combat was one but a couple of days. We were assigned to I was only on the lines for two days down in Naples, and then they pulled the third division off the lines to take amphibious training. We were going to land at Anzio.
Okay, so give me an idea of. Okay.
So, you got it?
Yeah, I've got it. I mean, not on the book, but I know when. So, you had your amphibious training. Was it the first time for you that you would receive an amphibious training? Was it the first time you would receive an amphibious training for you? Was it the first time you received an amphibious training?
Training.
Amphibious.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The first time I received any training.
No, amphibious. To prepare the invasion of Anzio. Would you be okay to tell me more about that amphibious training?
Oh. Well, we did a lot of walking, and I'll tell you this: when we got the Anzio, we took this training with these sleds behind us because it had a lot of mines, and there were six sleds this side, six sleds this side, and the tank was pulling it. And that we took training to if to run over the mines, it wouldn't bother they exploded the mines, and well, that's it. Yeah, that did just it's routine training, but covering one another, and they do all that stuff all the time. They did.
So could you tell me more about that day when you landed at Anzio, from the morning when you wake up till you get in the landing
We
craft?
landed about 2:00, 2 to 3 o'clock, I believe, somewhere along there. And we met no resistance because we had surprised them. In fact, we captured a colonel. He was drunk as a hoot owl, coming down from Rome. It was about 30 miles. He and his chauffeur had been up there drinking in gallon, and he was certainly surprised. But we blame Mark Clark. He was the general. When we landed, we were the only American division that landed there. But they just didn't send in enough men. We landed about 30 miles below Rome, and we got in, and the recon, they kept going there. They go till the fired on us, and they were around the outskirts of Rome. And so, in other words, there's no Germans in between there. But when we landed, you can't go straight in. You got to fan out as you go instead of getting cut off, so you won't get cut off. Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
And let's see what was here. So we couldn't advance, see, far. We just had to you advance out that way instead of that way.
Mm-hmm.
And time we got time we got our division in the got them where they wanted us. They had 3 or 4 divisions on the other side of us, and we just couldn't move, and it just got to be a big stalemate, and we had the flat land, and they had the mountains. And in the daytime, we couldn't. They had snipers all over the place, and but it didn't take them long. There was a railroad that came down from Rome, and there was a couple of highways, and they had what they call a railroad gun, a great old big. You've never seen such a big gun, and that thing just rattled the whole beachhead when it went off. And they also had screaming mimes. You ever heard of screaming mimes? They would sling out those shells, and they make such a weird noise. It was ghostly. And we talked about those screaming mimes a lot. Feel like to go hit you right in the back, and they're way off running somewhere. It worked on your mind.
So, could you tell me if you remember the day you landed at Anzio, your personal story when you landed at Anzio, what happened for you and your men?
Nothing happened. I mean, we landed safely. There's no resistance because we took them by surprise. You know the purpose of what we were doing. We were they're fighting down here at Naples and up there at Rome, and they had a railroad track and a couple of roads coming down from Rome. If we landed up there, they cut all that off to keep the supplies from getting down there, but we didn't get to where we wanted to, where we was supposed to, because they just didn't send enough men up there. I'll try to stay on this side of that thing.
You don't like my microphone?
No, I don't see it.
So when you say you landed, okay, there were no defense. I mean,
no resistance.
So what happened next for you the next following days? Would you be about? Do you remember what happened the next following days?
I don't know how long. Planes would come over. German planes would come over. I reckon that's one way they got their information. I don't know. We were still bringing men up, I expect, because I wasn't back there. I was up there on the front, but we didn't do any fighting there for a while.
So finally, I can see, a few days after, your regiment was involved in the fight in Cisterna. Cisterna. Cisterna.
Cisterna.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I believe we got surrounded there, but we broke out. And the Rangers lost some men when they tried to take Cisterna, and never did take it. And we we did some fighting around them, but they had some ranges and I don't remember, but they had it tough up there. They got into cistern and got cut off.
So, is there anything you remember about that attack? On January 29th, 31st, 1944.
I didn't get you.
Do you remember something about that attack on the city?
What city? Cisterna?
Mm-hmm.
No, we weren't in on that. We were only in on the tail end, but part of the 3rd Division was, but about the part I was in didn't.
There's so much information in that book. That's incredible. Wow. Yeah. That's something. So after you were on the way, to Rome. You were on your way to Rome.
Mm-hmm.
And would you be okay to tell me more about that? When you were on your way to Rome, what happened? I can see that the 3rd Infantry Division was in Cori, Guglielmo, Artena. You've been all over the place.
Avignon.
South of Rome.
I'm trying to remember. All I know is we couldn't go anywhere. So we dug in for a long haul. This was in January. And we just dug in for a long haul and make little stabs out of them, to find out how strong they were and where they were the strongest and so forth. It was so much rain and water and mud, you couldn't do a whole lot. And there's only 2 roads that led up to our front lines. We had the flat part land, and then they had snipers all up in the hills, and they looked right down your throat. And they sent us down. They were trying to. The way they give us a bath, they load up for so many and take you back. They let you take a shower and change clothes. And there wasn't but 1 or 2 roads that led back there where we were, and that was the only time that we could move. So they knew we were moving, and it got so dangerous the boys could just quit going back and take a bath or change clothes.
You just mentioned the snipers, the German snipers. Do you remember if one day or another your squad, your unit, your men have been stuck because of German snipers? Do you remember one day where, like, you have been, like, in trouble personally because of a sniper?
Well, there were several times where we had a place where it was sniper infested, but we picked our times to move around and our ways. In fact, even today, when I walk around here, so I'm always looking for a place to go if something happens, and that's where I was there. If a machine gun opened up, I knew exactly where I was going. I had that on my mind all the time.
Still to this day. Wow.
I wanted to come back home.
Mm. Wow. So, could you tell me more about Rome? You know, have you been in the city of Rome?
Oh yeah, we took Rome. Yeah, they we were on the outskirts of Rome when they declared the open city, and we went in, and that was a real blessing to us because we'd seen nothing but fighting for 3 months, and see people walking around on the streets, and of course they had all the Germans declared Rome an open city, and of course they had a few snipers around, but we enjoyed Rome. Did a lot of walking around, and we took Rome. Let's see, in June. It was 2 days or 3 days.
June
days.
before.
Yeah, June 4. 2 days before D-Day. We were sitting in Rome when we found out about D-Day.
Yeah, you know Churchill, Winston Churchill, when he did a speech before the invasion of Normandy, he talked about what the guys did in Italy to say that you're going to be a part of the invasion of France, but remember that a lot of men already fought all their way from North Africa to Italy, and that the first capital, that was the first capital of Europe that you freed, Rome.
Rome. That sure was. It was an open city. We enjoyed it that day. They wouldn't let us stay there long though. About 3 or 4 days. And then they carried us back to Naples for amphibious training, and you know for what then, don't you?
Yeah, I think so.
Going to Saint-Tropez.
Saint-Tropez.
Saint-Tropez. How you pronounce that? Saint-Tropez?
We say Saint-Tropez. Yeah, exactly. So more amphibious training. More amphibious training. And so it's maybe a difficult question, Raymond, and I'm sorry to ask you that, but you know, since the time you arrived in your squad,
in my squad,
till the invasion of southern France, did you lose anyone in your squad? Did some of your men have been wounded or killed in your squad?
Not where we landed.
From Enzio to Rome, like you've got 6 months approximately.
Yeah, I remember. I remember one boy was wounded pretty bad. That I remember he was dying. I knew he was dying, and I held his hand, and it was just a few minutes. His hand went limp. We got him out of a house though. The house was shot at. Fell in on him. Now, what was the question?
No, that was. So that was one of your men in your squad.
Yeah. It really hurts when you get to know them, you know. There's a bond. between the men that fight that I know several guys that were wounded and they sent them back to the hospital, and they would run away and come back up there. They just felt like they felt like the boys needed. They felt like they were letting them down because they weren't there. That's a feeling you get. That's the reason you do things up there that you wouldn't do ordinarily, because you got others there that you got to protect and help fight. It hurts when you see somebody you know gets clipped.
That's why we say band of brothers. The relation you were describing, brother in arms. It's like a family.
Band of brothers, yeah. Yeah. There's a bond there. Well, I still have it. The boy that I knew, I used to, when I came home, I used to write all of them that I knew, and they'd write me, and then all of a sudden you come a letter from the mother says Joe died, and then they were eliminated that way. I'd write them till they died, and then sometimes the wife would write me, and I'd write them, and then I don't hear from them for a while. Yeah, I did go see one boy from Connecticut. Let's see, was it? Anyway, one of those. Carol Hescott, and went out with Jenny, Laura, and her sister, her brother, and we stopped. I knew where he lived. We stopped there. And he wasn't there, but his wife was. He was working at he worked at the ski resorts and in the summertime he worked at the golf courses. I didn't see him, but I would write him. He'd write back, and there was a lieutenant in California I used to write, and then when his letter stopped, I knew he died.
So you said a lieutenant, he was your platoon leader?
No, he was a, I don't know what you called him. He wasn't a platoon leader. He had some other duty, and I can't remember what it was. I was trying to think. Boy.
So Raymond,
Huh?
just before we were talking about your brother in arms, you were just starting to talk about your amphibious training before the invasion of southern France, and would you be okay to tell me more about that day, August 15, 1944, when you put a step on the beach, near Central Pays?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I remember we were sitting out in the harbor on the ships that brought us over, and then they when they we were way back out there, you know, and we were watching the bombing and the planes flying. We had a ringside seat, and then we had to, and it came for our turn. So what they did, you dropped the ropes over the boat, and you climb down the boat and get in the LCVPs. That's the landing craft. And when that boat fills up, it'll go off out there and start circling. And then right behind that one, another will come down. And then when that gets full, that'll start circling in behind the others. And the other ships will do the same thing. And then they're synchronized. And when they get ready to go in, and that circle comes a straight line, and you go in.
You're gonna kill my microphone.
I'm used to teaching, you know.
That's okay. So, would you be okay just to tell me again that part? So you said that you were circling with the plane, with the landing craft. Sorry, and after what? Now it's time. You were in the line and you're going toward the beach.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened next?
Well, there was a lot of firing. In southern France, it wasn't as bad as it was in Normandy, but we ran into a lot of Russians. It was in the German army. They hated Stalin worse than they did Hitler, and they weren't what you call real fighters. I mean, they were, but they didn't have the heart in it like the German did. But there was some tall mountains down there, and I remember climbing up those mountains, and we walked all that day, and the next day, and boys were without resistance. Maybe a few snipers, they were backing up. But the boys, when you land that way, you carry everything you think you'll need. Raincoats or whatever. And all up and down the mountains. The boys get tired, they'd throw it down, and they just pick them up. And some of the boys got captured that way. They didn't realize where they. I mean, they knew they were down there, but they didn't know where.
So you said that when you first landed, after what, you were fighting mainly with Russian people or people in German uniform, but they were not like fighters.
They surrendered. Mm-hmm. They surrendered pretty quickly.
So did you go in the city itself of Saint-Tropez? Did you go in the city?
Let's see.
I can see that you landed very close by, but I'm wondering if you went through the city or if you started to move inland directly.
No, I missed the city. I didn't go through the city.
And after what, you crossed my country from the south to Besançon. But it's incredible because I grew up there, you see.
Where is that?
Chambéry. Whoop.
It's Sainte Marie, I know it. I remember. I remember where it is. I remember the Sainte Marie, but I don't.
Oh no, this is.
I don't remember where it was.
I grew up here, Chambéry. You see?
Give me glasses.
Oh. Yep.
Okay.
So I grew up here in Chambéry, but I studied in Grenoble. You see,
Good novel, yeah. Yeah, I remember.
But you told me a few.
I don't believe I don't believe I made it there. I don't know.
I know you told me about this city yesterday, a couple days ago.
Avignon.
You told me about
Ep-
Montélimar
yeah.
with the girl.
Epinal, Basul.
Yeah. Is that okay if I'm asking you a few questions about? I know that. Oh, I'm gonna take your. Can I take your glasses?
Oh,
Thank you very much.
I'm a welder to you.
No. So, um, so what can you tell me about? We're August 15, 1944, and now you're walking north.
Mm-hmm.
So you told me that. I mean, it's a pretty fast advance because within a month, you were in the south, and now you're in Besançon. What happened during that month?
From where to where?
From the south to Besançon. I don't know.
Besançon.
Yeah, Besançon.
Oh, Lord, I just remember the town. I don't remember a whole lot. We had skirmishes all up and down, but I don't know. I can't remember where we had them. I remember the towns real well. Besançon and Vesoul and Remiremont. I told you about those yesterday, the other day, didn't I? I said something to you about them yesterday. Vesoul.
You told me in Montélimar you've met someone.
Yeah, that's where I had my camera.
Can you tell me more about that?
No, I can't tell you about that. No, we came. We didn't. We did a little fighting below, but we came up where all this fighting with planes, and it was regular movie star type thing. But because the whole 19th German Army, they were caught out in the open right there, and the planes were having a field day, and we came along. We saw the tail end of that fighting, but it was kind of quiet where we got where we saw the girls.
Mm. This is Montélimar, where you saw the girls.
Montélimar. That's we were I guess walking around and taking pictures, and then she had my address. She wrote me this letter. She's a smart girl.
I'm sure she was not only smart, but beautiful, no?
Yeah, she was pretty.
But it's your little secret, I guess. Or maybe not when it's on camera. So we can talk more about that after. So, do you remember Grenoble? Do you remember?
I remember the Grenoble. I don't remember anything about it.
Okay. But you went through that.
Hmm.
That's something.
A lot of those places I went through that I don't.
I mean, you crossed half of my country in 1 month. So I guess you went through a lot of different villages, different cities.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to remember. So, I saw in your uniform that you have been wounded twice.
Mm-hmm.
And 1 silver star. Was it before or after?
Well, let's see. The Silver Star wait just a minute. The Superstar was at Besançon. You ever heard of that?
Yeah. Yes. So-
Besançon, that's where I got Superstar.
Okay, so we're in September 1944.
Mm-hmm.
And could you tell me more about why you've been awarded one of the highest military award in the U.S. Army? What happened?
Why I wanted it? I didn't want it.
But you probably did something.
I got the paper I was gonna give you the commendation.
Yeah, but could you tell me more about your day, that day, what you remember?
I remember we took this little town and Besançon, not is it Besançon?
Yep.
Is that where I got the Silver Star?
I'm-
No. Golly. I just said it just a few minutes ago.
Yeah, that's.
Not Besançon, it was.
Let's see. Oh,
Oh yeah, you got it. No, no, it's,
what day was it? No,
Au-
pas
August,
Elise.
August the 27th. Is that
Okay. So that was before Besançon. That was on August 27, 1940. No, that of order. So
it?
I don't remember when it was. It was in the daytime.
It's not.
So I'm just gonna look at the name. I'm sorry, it's just gonna take 2 seconds.
Near,
I know that town just as good as I know my name. What it?
It's non Patelizo.
Non-Patalis, yeah.
So, could you tell me more about that day? So non Patelizo.
Yeah. You want me to?
Oh yeah, and you can describe it with as much details as you want. I mean, I'm here to listen to you, so you can.
Well, you got the commendation, doesn't you?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just a few lines
Mm.
with.
Well, Sergeant Dalloway, he was a Swede, and he's from the or Dutch. He's from the Dutch country in Pennsylvania, and he could go out and live in the woods. I mean, find something to eat. He was a survivor. He, I remember we chased the Germans out, and after holding it a while, they had gone in the woods and they came back, and we were out behind the house in the what do you call it, in the middle of the city. Anyway, we'd taken the city and they'd run them out, and then they counterattacked it, and they were in some woods out there. I guess I don't know, 150 yards, and they started coming out of the woods, and Dalloway told me, he said, we parked out there behind the houses in the Jeep. I had a machine gun. He said, run and get me that machine gun off of the Jeep. And I did, and brought it back to him. And well, when I came back, all the boys that was in the house had all the possessions and down on the ground, on the ground floor, and they were coming out of the woods. So I just went upstairs, and there was nobody up there but me. So I had to fire at them, and I was up there where I was looking down on them. There was a ditch running in front there, I guess 100 yards or so, and I saw some Germans crawling in the ditch. You crawl around, you're gonna get around and get behind us, and I made the mistake of firing at them. And some boys on the ground knew that I was up there. They turned that in for me. They saw what happened, but I'll tell you what, I never heard such popping in my life. When a bullet comes around where you can hear it, it pops. And it sounds like it's popping popcorn. And I feel it, just a little sneak on the shirt as you pass by, and my helmet. I could just feel the wind of them, the bullet, and I couldn't get out. And they told those boys out there said they were getting caught by these guys that were crawling, and they were anticipating being surrounded. So they turned me in. They saw how many I hit. I didn't really.
So you saved the life of your man.
That's what to say.
That's why you received the Silver Star.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Yeah, it's the citation, but it's you've got more. I mean, it's just 5 lines. So thank you for just telling me about that day. So it's probably someone who saw you, one officer who actually helped. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it's when an officer witnessed that he can.
Yeah, that means a lot as far as getting an award.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. And the fact that it's probably an officer who saw you using that machine gun.
Yeah, that's right. You don't go up and say I did this or that.
Yeah. So actually, this little town is 2 hours from Besançon. It's about 2 hours from Besançon with a car.
I get lost up there now. I can remember some of the things that happened. I wouldn't know where it happened.
Yeah.
I do remember in the WWII Mountains. You didn't live far in the mountains, did you?
It was only like 4 hours from where I grew up, the Vosges Mountain.
Well, the WWII Mountains, they skirt Switzerland. In fact, we were talking about it, so we'll give you a good chance to just run over to Switzerland and declare amnesty. But we were way up in the mountains. In fact, there's some houses up there that we crawled out one window and had a snowbank all the way down our road for a few yards, which we used as an outpost. We crawled right out of the window, and the snow was up to past the window, you know. And I remember one night I heard this gosh awful fire, and to check on the boy that was on duty. He said, I'm sorry. Says he was up there, and you could see a long way in the snow. You could see the fence posts down there. He says, I could have sworn those fence posts was advancing on me, so he fired at them. He looked at them so long that they moved. But we'd go on guard duty, crawl out the window right on the snow. We were up too.
Were you prepared for the cold weather? Did you have the equipment? Because the Vosges Mountain, it was pretty cold.
It was. It sure was.
So how did you have like winter coat, the appropriate?
We had a shelter half we depended on, and a blanket. Each one of us had a shelter blanket and a blanket, and we'd get together and put them together, see, and dig a hole. You'd always dig a hole, not always, but most of the time dig a hole with another feller. There's a little Puerto Rican there I used to dig a hole with. He was a little fella. He used to dig a hole big enough for we'd both get in it.
So you were a couple in a foxhole every night, or?
Most time, yeah. In fact, when my buddies down the line there, the guy he was in the hole with had gone out on patrol, and the German came in and surrendered to him. And so he said, I can't take you back now. Said, I got to stay here. Said, they sat down there and talked for a while, and got time for getting lighter. So he said, well, you better go on back on over there, because I can't go with you. I can't take you back. He had lived in over here somewhere. There's a lot of little oddities like that.
So, you were talking about the foxhole, and this is what I said. Someone was surprised that I was sleeping in my car, and I think it's pretty comfy because I've got a bed, I've got blankets, I've got pillows. But so you were spending most of your nights in foxholes?
It's just plumb misery, especially with Angio, because in Italy in the wintertime it rains just about all the time, and you just sloppy mud. You just roll up in it and put the shelter half under you, keep your blanket from getting so wet. Put 2 shelter halves under us and 2 blankets over us, and cuddle up.
Yeah, it's not like a Hilton hotel.
Yeah. One night we cuddled up and had the blanket down there. And boy, I was with. I said, "You feel something? You feel something moving down there?" We dug in a rat hole.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
terrible. Oh. you know, you're talking about the terrible conditions of an infantryman, and I've seen in some reports that some of the men could not make it. You know, like some of them started to be kind of, you know, battle fatigue. Battle fatigue.
Yeah.
Did you have a lot of, because you went through so many like months, years of combat. Did you see men? Like
No, I've always been in pretty good shape, and I could walk as long as anybody could, and run as long, and it really. We used to go on. We used to go on hikes back in basic training, and the ambulance would follow. You know, when they fall out, they'd pick them up. But I never fell out. I said, if I felt like falling out, I wouldn't do it now. Because I've always had a lot of stamina.
But have you seen some men like who couldn't make it because of battle fatigue? Some in your squad?
Yeah. I've seen some few that just out there not knowing where they are or caring, or they're just oblivious to anything that's going on. They're just battle fatigue. That's sad. Some of them crying, and it's pitiful.
Do you think that receiving like, you know, some mail from the family can help, you know, V-mail and stuff like that when you're in combat? Do you remember if your family was sending you letters or packages?
Yeah. And my mother sent me a Coca-Cola one time. My cousin Agnes Fitzgerald, she said it. We had a good time with that Coca-Cola.
I guess that was a pretty good day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
do you remember Clery, Clerie, Clery?
Let me see just a minute. I don't know where
It's Clery.
I can't see it without my glasses. You'll have to go with me sometime when I need somebody.
You see, Clery? They said that the 3rd Battalion of the 15 and the 2nd one as well went through Clery. We're in the Vosges Mountain. Do you remember a little bit about that?
Let me get a good look at that.
Yeah.
This. Oh no, I don't remember that one. That was the 3rd Battalion of 15th.
Yeah.
See
And
that?
here we've got the 2nd right there.
Mm-hmm.
And you went on the left.
Yeah.
But that's okay. I mean, you've went through so many small towns.
We went.
Saint-Am, you see?
Mm-hmm.
Saint-Am.
That was up in the mountains. Boy,
Yeah.
I tell you right now, that was cold. In September and October.
Yep. That's not the best time to go there. Pretty mouty. It's cold.
Yes, where were you now? Where were you raised?
I'm in the south.
Oh.
I mean, I'm near Grenoble.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Grenoble.
Yeah, but it's not on this map.
I remember we went to. We got to the Rhine River. What was it? Strasbourg.
Oh, Strasbourg.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I had to go tell you not to forget that.
So
Yeah.
So what? Yeah, Strasbourg.
I just remember going into Strasbourg and Germans already been chased out of Strasbourg, and it was stalemated, and we just stopped there. We had about 2 or 3 days rest. See, like there was a sawmill out there. We where we were. It's Strasbourg, a big city,
Yes, indeed.
right on the Rhine.
Yeah. And you know, in November 1944, you reach the Meurthe River, a big river, in November 1944.
Let's see,
The Meurthe River.
Murph. Yeah, I remember Murph.
Could you tell me more about that?
No, I don't remember much about it. I remember the Murph River though. I crossed the many rivers. I swam across one down in around Colmar. Gosh, I read the ice on it. We had our capes on, and we had to run. I don't know how far, and down the road there, and the capes had ice on it, and the tank had fallen through the bridge, and they couldn't bring up support, so they had to backtrack.
So
That was cold country. Golly, I had a lot of cold country over there in France.
did a lot of men have frozen bite because of the cold? You know the frozen bite. You know when your food
Frostbite.
What did I say?
Frozen bite.
Oh, frostbite.
Oh, frostbite, yeah. No, I never did get that. We had, they gave us what we called shoe packs. They didn't have regular shoes, they had shoe packs that were, they didn't leak.
Mm-hmm.
But your feet would get cold in them though.
Yeah, it's just like kind of a shoes
Yeah.
that you put over your shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not very warm. Nah. So I've seen, you know, on your eye jacket that you've been wounded twice.
Mm-hmm.
Could you tell me more about those 2 wounds?
Yeah, it hurt.
I guess.
Yeah, let's see. The first time was at Angio. I'm trying to remember what I was doing. We were breaking out. We were breaking out at Angio. We moved in position the night before, and woke up the next morning, and all kinds of fire going. We had a lot of machine guns that were firing over our heads, and let's see now. My crew got caught out in the I know we got caught out in the out of place, and a machine gun did open up on us, and we ran back to the hold, and a foot struck a tripwire to it wasn't an anti-tank mine, it was a It was an anesthetic mine. It'd been booby trapped, and I didn't get the whole blast till it wrecked. But there'd been about 4 or 5 of us got hit off of that. And all I remember I hit the ditch, and the next thing I knew, the medics was turning me over. I had shrapnel from here all the way up to my back, and I thought I was torn all to pieces because I had a canteen on this side, and I felt the water dripping down there, and I thought it was blood. But there were about 4 of us got hit on that. Walter Pat Jack got hit there too. Lord. And I don't know, I woke up and they had me on my stomach. And they said, each soldier carries first aid pack on the belt. So he'd taken that off. It had sulfanilamide in it, and he'd had it all over. He said, "You're eating up," and he put it all over my back. And he borrowed some from somebody else and put that on there. And they put me on a stretcher and they carried me to well, you carried me to the place where the
Hospital.
hospital. The on the beachhead they had these tent hospitals, and they had bags.
Ed station?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The smaller.
They carried that. I remember when I woke up, I was on a cot, and there was a German soldier right next to me. He's a young boy, and his whole jaw was gone. He said, the GI shot him, and he said, I surrendered, and he shot me. Lord, that went on. Where was it now? I got off track there now.
You were at the hospital.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and they kept me up there for a couple of days, and then that was what you call an evacuation hospital. And if you needed more attention, they would send you down to Naples, to the general hospital. And to get down there, with Anzo up here, you had to get on the boat to ride down to Naples. And so I went down to Naples down there for 3 or 4 days or 5. And the word came down from headquarters that all wounded men that could walk had to come back up there. And I could walk, so I went back up there. And to get you up there, they had to send the boat down to get you, send you back up, landed India. And there's a guy there waiting for me.
So you had like a lot of pieces of shrapnel all around, on your back, on your leg, and you had to go back to your outfit, even if you were not completely like.
Yeah. Most of it was in my back there. it was so I don't know. I could walk. Yes, but anyway, we got where was it?
They were taking you back.
Yeah, that's right.
Talking about Naples?
He taken me back to Anzio.
Mm-hmm.
After Naples? Okay, you come back to India. Okay.
From Naples.
Okay.
And he got back up there. There was a jeep waiting for anybody that came back. And so I got in the jeep with this boy, with this jeep driver. He was going to take me to my outfit. I got that. That's written in that Angio Beachhead thing I got. You can read it later.
Okay.
Go ahead and finish it, though, Paul. Go ahead and finish it.
Oh, I am, but he can verify it with that. Whatever I tell you, it has to be verified, see.
No,
Anyway, now off track again.
So you were back to Anzio.
Yeah, with the guy in the jeep waiting for me.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Are you Sugg?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Hop in. I got to take you back to your outfit." So we started back, and just before we got to where we were going, we stopped there, and they were in a big field out there, the outfit, and they were coming out on the road. And there was another boy in the jeep with me. I don't know who. I don't remember where he came from, but he the jeep driver and I heard a plane, and it was a German plane. They have a kind of sound. We could tell with the sounds up there who was. And so he and I knew it was Big Charlie. So we jumped out of the jeep and crawled under a culvert. And just as they dropped those butterfly bombs. You know what they are?
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
That's the one.
And the big bomb opened up, and the little ones fall out of it, and they just peppered that place right where the outfit was coming onto the road, and we were underneath the road there, and boy, when they hit, you could hear them hollering. He called for mama and anybody. Medics, how about over here? So I told that driver, I said, we got to get out here and help those boys. So we crawled out, and there was a medic over there tending to a guy that had a big hole in his back. And I said, "Can I help you?" He said, "Yeah." Says, "How about picking up the back end of this stretcher?" Yeah. And I'm glad you came along. So he picked up the stretcher before I was ready to pick up the back end. And when he picked it up, the blood flew out of that hole all over me. I had to change clothes. But you can't complain in a situation like that. But I was helping him. Yes.
Were there a lot of wounded soldiers that day?
Yeah, there's a lot. They were all over. These butterfly bombs, they scatter out when they fall. They don't kill like the other bombs do, but they can mess you up. So I'm trying to think what happened next.
You probably joined back your unit.
And that was my unit coming out. I got up with them. I must have got up with them there. I can't remember. But anyway, I went into Rome, walking in Rome with them. We walked into Rome, and we'd been at Anzio for 4 months, and we didn't see any civilians. Just maybe a farmer or two that was look after his stock, cows, a lot of dead cows too. But when you got to Rome there, we saw people, and it just seemed so good to see people. We had
And some pretty girls.
people with civilian clothes on.
Yeah.
And girls.
Yeah, I'm sure you've met a few, huh? But it's another secret, I guess.
Stepping on that bomb is what messed up his hearing initially at 19.
I see.
And so he was disabled.
Laura's hearing things she never heard before.
No, I've heard a lot of that. Yeah. So he hasn't been able to hear much since. Very good since then.
You know, I've got bad earrings, but the story is different. It's just because I was playing drums, so it's not.
Good to get things off your mind.
Hearing, he was saying.
My hearing is not good, but because I was playing drums. It's
No.
not because,
Because he stepped on the
it's
line.
not because I was. Yeah. It's not because I stepped on a mine. So.
My hearing's not good because I heard these long toms. So they had these real long toms that they pulling behind us back there. About 100 yards ahead, and they just go off, boom, and dirt falls out in your hole.
And stepping on a mine.
Yeah.
You don't like him, huh?
Hit that mine again.
It's not your friend, but that's okay.
I think
He still like you. Sorry?
I'm thinking his other wound was he got shot. I'm thinking.
So, Mr. Sugg,
Yes.
would you be okay to tell me more about the second wound? The second wound. I'm just gonna up. Because I've seen on your jacket you've got the first wound, Purple Heart with one odd cliff, so which means that you've been wounded another time.
Okay, I'll tell you about that one too. I've forgotten the name of the place, but I can. We had come to a river. I'll have to. And the road was here. We came to the river, and over here was some trees, and there was a house up there. And the river was down there. The train tracks, a train track went across the river. Okay. And it was a machine gun firing at our machine gun across the river at the railroad track. They had something going between them. And we were up here on the hill there, a lot of trees. We didn't think they saw us, so we just watching the machine gun battle. They looked down there, and all of a sudden, that guy, that one of those machine gunners, turned those machine guns up there on us, and we were right next to a house, and hit the house. The bullet hit the house and lodged in my leg, my leg, and I had to go have that taken out. It wasn't deep, but it was deep enough that it had to come out, and that's all that was. That's the only 2 times I was wounded.
So what happened when you've been wounded? The medic came and tried to fix you, or what?
No. I saw some boys and a tank gun, and he said he knew who a medic was, so he brought the medic up, and they came into hospital. Got the bullet out. It bled some, but it wasn't bad. I didn't know where they were going to put it in for a wound or not, but it was. It was a wound.
So you came back to your unit quickly after?
I didn't leave it. Let's see. No, I just bandaged. He just bandaged his leg. Stopped it bleeding. Packed it. He packed it pretty good. I didn't go back any further.
So
if everybody went back when they got a scratch like that, it'd be a continuous line.
So just before that, that we were talking about your 2 wounds. We were talking about the Colmar pocket. I know that you have seen a lot of action there, seen a lot of combats. But after the Colmar pocket, do you remember when you first entered Germany?
When I first entered Germany, let's see. I'm trying to think of where I am. Alsace-Lorraine. That's I don't believe I entered Germany until we crossed the Rhine River. I believe that's the first time I ever entered.
And so, could you tell me more about that when you crossed the Rhine River? So, what happened? How did you cross the Rhine?
We crossed the Rhine on rowboats.
Were they like?
No, I see. I don't remember.
Because what you're saying is totally right. You crossed the Siegfried line in March 45.
Oh yeah.
Right before the Rhine River.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a harrowing experience there at the dragon feed.
So you were talking about the Siegfried line, in the forest, your lieutenant?
Yeah, Well, we, we crawled up the Siegfried line to the. I guess the lieutenant knew where he was going. We didn't, and it was dark as pitch. And you have you ever been to the Siegfried line? You know what it was. Had your dragon feet, and then you down here a little lit ditch. Well, we were dug in the ditch, and we dug our foxholes, and then we went to look for the pillbox. I guess the lieutenant knew where it was because we crawled right beside the dragon teeth, and he got to the pillbox, and the lieutenant hollered for him to come out with their hands up. Well, the back door opened, and when the back door opened, one started out, and some rookie or another opened up on him. And of course he went back in, and we didn't get Dooley. And I happened to be a bazooka man then, and I heard the lieutenant up there say, "Go back and get the bazooka man. Bring him up here." And I had seen those big shells hitting those pillboxes and just, and me firing a bazooka. So I pulled that bazooka under me like this. "Where's the bazooka man? On back there, on back there." He never did find it. I never fired that thing with a pillbox. I would have tanked, but I let the pillbox. And I'd stand there watching these big guns shooting, hitting, and they just shells just skipping off of them.
Bless you.
So we crawled back to the foxholes that we had dug, and it was beginning to get light. And so we got up and started getting our gear together, and all of a sudden these I don't know what happened, but shells started raining around us. We had seen some GIs crossing the field right there next to the pillbox, so we figured it was clear, but it wasn't. I got back in the hole, and I lay in that hole, and they had these little, what we call knee mortar, and they would fire those things, and they just laying all around the hole, and they were small, but they hurt you. And so we had to dig in there. I mean, it was all night. I lay, and the next day too, I lay in that hole with my nose in the hole all day and never saw the sun, and the sun was shining. That's how it was. It was tough stuff. Well, I tell you, you get in a place like that, and you have no conception of time, and you don't know how long you've been there. When you're there, and you got everything running through your mind, not getting back home, and things like that. So it's just a blimp. But you know you've laid there all day. with the sun shining and never saw it. So they had these little knee mortars. They were popping them like popcorn right there around the. I don't know. They're bound to have seen us. They wasted either that or they wasted a lot of ammunition. One.
So crossing the Siegfried line was tough. Crossing the Siegfried line was difficult.
Let me see.
Because you were talking about the forest, that's the Siegfried line. We're at the Siegfried line. Is that correct? We're talking about the Siegfried line.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just tried to replace the story in the okay.
Yeah. Well. Later on the next day, we everything was quiet. We got up, and saw the GIs walking all over the pillboxes. And we got up, we went down one pillbox where there was several of us. Said, "Come on, get in here with us." There's a bunch of them in there. And those pillboxes are deep, they're big. They're whole, I reckon, I don't know how many men. They'd hold a bunch of men. A company, I guess. But I remember going in that pillbox. I said, "Hell, Pete, we'll never take this pillbox." Of course, you don't see all that, though. That's around behind. You go in, you go down. But I remember I was wanting to check one of those out, and I never did get the chance. But I got in that one, but and there were men in there, soldiers in there from, I reckon, 15 or 20 in there from different outfits. I couldn't explain that either. Did we get down to Neuf-Brisach? You know where that is? Down on the Rhine River, down around in Alsace-Lorraine.
Yeah, that was before, but yeah. Alsace-Lorraine is in France.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what do you remember about that? You were talking about this city.
What?
The river.
On the Rhine River.
Yes.
I get mixed up.
That's
yeah.
Okay.
And
we're in March 45, so this is almost the end of the war.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, we crossed the Rhine River. Let's see, where did we cross the Rhine River?
You crossed near Lampertheim.
Seemed like Nuremberg were the.
Oh no, you crossed. No, I'm sorry. The 2nd Battalion. You crossed. You know Borstadt.
Neuf-Brisach.
Yes.
Neuf-Brisach.
Do you remember that?
Not a whole lot. Yeah, I have to think a minute. Yeah. I remember Neuf-Brisach. Is that before we went to Alsace-Lorraine?
No, that's after.
After Alsace?
Yeah, we're like almost in April 1945.
Uh-huh.
We're almost you know, it's a month.
Oh yeah, we were here. I know where we're going now. I just have to get my bearings.
That's okay.
I got a pretty good memory though, haven't I?
Yeah, you do. I mean, it's been a long time.
It sure has.
So it's we're like March the 26th, 27. It's the Rhine River. That's probably the last main river that you crossed before the end of the war. One of the last.
I remember going through Nuremberg.
Oh yes, you went through Nuremberg.
We were the first outfits in Nuremberg. In fact, my company was, and I was one of the first one of them.
Okay. Could you tell me more about that?
Huh?
Could you tell me more about that when you crossed the?
Not a whole lot. I remember they were fanatics. I saw, let's see. I saw a tank blow up one soldier, one American tank. He got out in the middle of the road. He was going to fire his bazooka at it. That tanker, he gave him that 3-inch shell. What? I can't remember. Let's see. I know we got down to Berkeley's garden.
So did you have a lot of?
I got some pictures of Berkeley's garden.
But did you have a lot of street fight when you were in Nuremberg? When you went through Nuremberg?
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
Because it's a big city.
Yeah, it's a big city.
It's kind of like, you know, it's an important city for Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
Nuremberg, it's like, you know, a lot of.
Nuremberg, Munich, München.
So, did you have like any street fights in Nuremberg? Going from one house to another, from one building to another? How was the advance through Nuremberg?
I don't remember a whole lot about that. That's what I don't. But I remember we were one of the first. Let's see. They said our outfit was the first one in Nuremberg, and we were point for them.
That's okay. You know, you've been through so many cities.
Yeah, it's a big place, I'll tell you that.
And so you said that you've been to you've been in Berchtesgaden. Sorry for the accent. You know, in Austria. You've been in Austria.
Yeah.
So could you tell me more about that when you went in Austria? What happened there?
You say what's her name?
You know, it's the Eagle Nest. It's Berchtesgaden.
You said what happened there. I said, did you want to know what her name is?
No. What's the name?
No, I'm just talking. Yeah, I remember. That's where I was. I was sitting on a hill there, right outside of Salzburg, when we knew the war was over.
What happened for you when the war just ended? You know the day on May.
Yeah, I know exactly what happened to me.
What happened?
My outfit, they came down and said the captain said there's been some SS troopers that have got American money. He's slipped off up in the mountains, and we're gonna send y'all up there to find them. And that was you know where they sent us? You never heard of it probably. Bischofshofen. This little mountain town way back up in the mountains up there, and there was a railroad track that came through it, and we had a place for displaced persons. That, while we were up there, they said that they would come to us and we'd feed them, till they could, their own countries could get them back. And Hitler had a lot of DPs.
Yeah.
But we played softball. I got a hit.
So that was nice to relax. Now the war was over.
Excuse me. Go ahead.
No, I just mean now the war was over, so that was nice just to relax.
Yeah, we we played played softball, played other outfits, and that was real mountain country too, way back up in there, Austria. We drove and drove. I got hemorrhoids from riding those up and down those mountains. I had to have them worked on when I got home. You ever had hemorrhoids?
No.
You know what it is, don't you?
Yeah, I know. It's not nice.
Because I was trying to play baseball and I couldn't run.
How was the relation with the local? The Germans, the people from Austria?
Was Austria?
How was the relation with the local, the people from there?
From Austria? You say how to have...
How was the relation with the people?
Yeah.
The local?
Yeah, how do we get along with the local people?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was...
Yeah.
They got along fine with them. Yeah, they were... I remember one lady today, Fanny, and they called it Fanny. Her name was Fanny. They called her Fanny. I just remember that because that was unusual for me or us.